So I'm going to start Microsoft Excel. So Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet software that is used for data organization, analysis, report creation. It's also used for creating reports for businesses like stock taking, stock tracking, performance analysis, reporting of finances, budgeting, and the like. It's also used in the education sector for doing research, analysis, grading, and scheduling. So that's how you open. So this is we call this a book. We call it a book. A book has a worksheet down here. You can add more worksheets. You can right click and give them a name. You can right click, come to rename, or simply double click and give the report a name. You can also, there's a way you can click twice so for it to highlight, for you to maybe write how you want the report you are creating. So it's used for creating reports. Education sector would also use it for doing grading. So when you other people also use it for data science, like cleaning data, analyzing data, visualizing data. This is the program I'll be working with. So this being a workbook, giving a workbook a name, you go to file, save as, and you can maybe save in a folder you have. You can save and give it a name. You can call it January. You can call the document January and save. January report. January report. You can call it that way and save. So that's the name of the book. The worksheets are down here. So our workbook can have several worksheets, and the worksheet is now the application area where you do your work. We call it the worksheet. It's made up of columns. Columns are named by alphabets. So these are columns, these are rows. Rows are named by numbers. What you're seeing are now rows. The intersection of a column and a row, we call it a cell. So like this is H5, G10. Every spot you click is called a cell. Each cell has a unique address. So the address is indicated on this part we are calling the name box. Just below the ribbon, the name box is here to indicate to you the cell you are selecting. If it's a range, it will also show you the range, the number of rows and the number of columns you have selected. We call this part here the name box for indicating cell addresses. This part is called the formula bar. The formula bar is for indicating what you have typed. Anything you type is indicated on the formula bar. Slightly below the ribbon, slightly above the worksheet, the working area. It displays the data you have typed, or functions or formulas to the cell that you've selected. So let me create some data that I'll start with. I can maybe give these names. This could be a subject, maybe maths. As I move with the arrow keys. So as I'm typing, he is indicating C1 and what I have typed. If I click, this is E1 and what I have typed. So as I type to create the data I'll be using, maths, Kiswahili, biology, history, chemistry, geography, I can fill data for just practicing. Maybe that's my data. Then I can fill the data of any random figures. I'm moving with the arrow keys just for explanation purposes. For practicing, you can use your own data. When creating, you have to have some data. That's my data. In case I maybe need to add this being columns, in case I need to add columns at a spot, I can click on the cell I would want to add and come here and insert columns. So a column will always appear on the left to the cell you have selected. If there's a gap I need between this one and this, then I'll position my cursor at this point, then come here and add. Come here and click that to add. If I want to delete a column, I also can come to the column number alphabet, then come here and delete this. You also can right click at the top, right click and pick delete. That can also do. If you also need space between chain and this, then you will position your cursor on the lower one. So you can come here, insert, and pick row. A row will always appear above the cell you have selected. If there's a gap I need between Mike and Joanne, then I'll position my cursor at the cell with Mike, either at the edge or even on the mic itself. Then come here and pick insert row. A row appears. You also can do the same by right clicking at the edge of the cell number and pick insert. You also can do the same by right clicking and doing delete if you need to do away with them. You also can position your cursor another way of deleting and come here and pick delete row or column depending with what you want to do away with. If I need to do away with this, I can just come to position my cursor, then come here and do away with the row or the column. Then your cursor, there are three. There's this one, this is for selecting. This is for selecting. It's white in color. It's used for selecting the section you want to maybe put bold, maybe you need to underline, maybe you need to put color. That's the point for the cursor for highlighting. So there are times you will notice when you double click like that, these ones are inactive. So when you notice they're inactive, you maybe want to put bold or you want to align or work with these ones. That means your cursor is inside the cell. So you maybe want to edit the figure. That's what you mean. So you have to click outside first so that you now can click the cell. When you have that white cursor, that's now the time these ones are active. You can align your work like we were using in Word. So this cursor is for selecting, to click and drag. Like now I can click this part here and add a column. a row on top. You can add 2 rows on top. I can change this to be performance, term work performance. Can come to this cell number here and call it term 1. Then I select, we also have a case where you can select a section and merge. This is for merging. Term 1 2025. Can put bold, put the color of my choice. I can select this part, merge, write the school, Thika High School. These are, we know these ones are for bold. I may want to do what, to background colors in case I want they are here, in case you want colors, or designs. If you don't want color, you remove with this. You may want borders. Borders are also here, because printing, you won't be seeing on the printout the lines if you've not selected this. It's a case of putting borders. Options of, if you don't want no border, you won't, when you print, you won't be seeing the lines. So I can have, you may also want to font and the like, even designs. When you select a section, designs are here. You can pick a design of the table design you want here. Will be coming to conditional formatting. When you say okay, that's the design you will have. Under home, formatting, table designs, these ones. The normal one, you need, you set. All these are designs in case you need them. If you don't want them, you can undo. You also may, so this cursor is for selecting, this for double clicking in case you want to edit. We also have moving. You can select a section and move, click and move. Moving appears when you point at the edge of the part you have selected. When you point at the edge, whichever side, you're able to click and move. You could even be moving one cell. When you point at the edge of the line, you will be moving that cell. You point at this edge, you will be moving that cell to the position you want. So that is at the case of pointing at the edges. Then we have, every cell has a dark spot here. This that changes the cursor to a dark plus sign is when you want to drag and fill. Maybe you have something written here, Kim. If you drag, it's going to duplicate. So it will duplicate. If what you want to drag and fill are numbers, it will also pick a pattern. But for it to pick a pattern, you first need to select at least 2. Then you can now drag. It's going to pick that pattern. If you only select 1, then you are duplicating. But if you select several, like 2 of them, it's going to pick the pattern. If you first select a few, then you drag, it's going to pick the pattern. It could be even be something typed, let's say January in short. When you click aside, then come here and point here and drag, it's going to automatically be able to tell what you want. If you drag downwards, the same, or even upwards, it's able to do that. Some things you will also be seeing in Excel are rotating. You will be seeing this for a case of rotating your data. You can rotate the way you want, return back to normal. So all these are options. You can rotate your text what you want, like coming here and come into this, and you can rotate to the angle you want. This is normal. You could also be writing something that isn't fitting. Maybe you have something like this and you need to stretch. You can stretch to accommodate some words, but at the top here, if this isn't fitting, you can click this in case you wanted to accommodate 2 lines, or you simply stretch. Let's say you are writing 2 names. And you want to accommodate 2, you will click this cell. Maybe you don't want to stretch this, you can still use this same column size, but you now click this so that you not this one, so that you accommodate 2 lines. So this is used to a case of accommodating 2 lines, to set and to remove. You could also be, you may be merging. I've shown you how to merge. So you could be working with money, so you can select a section and even come here and put the currencies. In case what you are dealing with involves money, you can come here and convert to what you are dealing with. General now means numbers as they appear. So those are the options. In case you maybe, Excel can also create reports. So you may want to create a report in graphical format of someone called Kim. You will select, then come to insert and look for the chart option you like. You have a chart of Kim. If what you need is a chart of mathematics, you also can select mathematics downwards, go to insert, pick the chart that you like to use, or the one you are given, the office, and you will have a graphical representation of your data. And you position it, you can move it by clicking at the edges to position it where you maybe want to position it in your report. In case the chart is for chemistry and you need the headings, then you will select, press control key on the keyboard, then come now select the chemistry subject as you still hold control makes you retain this. After you select, you now can go to insert and pick the chart that you want to use for chemistry. In case it's for 2 subjects, you will again select the names, press control, come select that Kiswahili and maybe history and geography, then go to insert, come and pick the chart option you want to use. All these are options and each will have its own line, and the chart can also be given a name. You can give the name. Moving it, you click and you can move. I also would want to do a few calculations. I'll be doing more in the next clip, so I may want to do totals here. I may also want to do totals average. I may also do average down here. I can do analysis for the subjects. I can create this report here and say subject analysis. Then let me remove this part. Then I can have average here. I'm putting bold, or I can underline. So in case I need to do totals here, there are 2 ways. One way is to start with equals, type sum, open bracket, and select from here to there. from cell B4 to G4. Then I close the bracket and press enter. So the formula bar, as I have said, this is the formula bar. It's indicating I'm doing summation from B4 to G4. When I press enter, it brings me the answer. Another way of doing it is to position your cursor where you would want the answer to be. Then you come here, simply click this. It's going to highlight for you. In case it highlights, you confirm by indicating to you the selection. Then you now press enter. You don't need to do that to all the rows. You can simply point. This cursor will turn to a dark black sign. You click and drag. So if this record has 60 students, I would have dragged up to the lowest, the last student at the bottom. If it's average, you also can go to this, click this. If it is picking total, like now it's picking B4 to H4, meaning it's also picking total. We don't want total being captured. So you can reduce up here on the formula bar and say you want to get to, you want it to be at, if you put G, it's going to be up to G. So it's calculating up to point G, where we have geography. If I had put here D, if I put D, it's capturing up to biology, because this is where the biology is. But I now want to capture up to where G4 is and press enter. I now can pick this and drag. Can also add here. Can add max. Can add mean. Can add grade. Now I have several examples of grade. Can have grade 1, grade 2. Grade 1 may have 2 options, grade 2 may have more than 2, or I may use another cell. I may also use another example of grade. I can work with 3 options of grade as a way of teaching several scenarios, 3 scenarios of grade. So I also can have here count if greater than 50, count if lower than 50, can also have max, can also have mean. So for max, I will start with equals, write max, open bracket, from this to this, and close the bracket and press enter. Then drag. Minimum equals mean, open bracket, from B4 full colon instead of highlighting up to G4. Then I close bracket and press enter. Then I drag. So I may have a key here, average key. Then I have grade 1, average key. I can say if average is above 65, the grade can be pass. If average is below 65, the grade can be fail, just as an example of a scenario you may come across. So here I'll start with equals, put if, open bracket. I need to test the average. If this average here is above 65, that student gets a pass, comma. the student fails. Then I close the bracket. So above 65 is pass, otherwise it's fail. That's one way. You also can, another method is to come here, come to this, pick if, say okay, test average. If this average is above 65, the student gets a pass, the student gets a fail. Here you don't need to put the speech marks, and say okay, and you can drag. So I could be using scenario 2 where I have more cases. Maybe I can be having another key, create another key, a scenario where you have options that you are maybe using total, could be using total. So you've been told if total marks above 360, the person has passed. Lower than 360, fail. So I'm using this in case I'm using that. So in case I'm using that scenario, I can come here, if, open bracket, if total is above 360, comma, opening speech marks, pass, comma, fail. Then you close the bracket and press enter. So I'm using H4. H4 is this column here. So if I press enter and drag, so one student is getting a fail because they happen to have scored lower than 350, 360. Yeah, so there is also a case where you may have a case where you have you could be using any key, maybe average, and then the grade scenario maybe has options that are more than 2. So you maybe have above 70, something is allocated, maybe an A. Above 60, person gets a B. Above 50, person gets a C. Lower than 50, person gets a D. So there are scenarios where you could be working with a grade with more than 2 allocation of grades. So I'll again put my cursor there, equals, if, open bracket, click average, which happens to be I4, it's greater than 70, comma, and allocate A. I now want to allocate the other 3. So if the scenario would have been in a case of 2, I would only have put a comma and typed the second option. But because the options are more than 1, I again have to start with if. After putting a comma. I again have to start with if, open bracket, again say I4 is greater than 60, comma, the person gets a B, comma, again, and again start if the same I4 is greater than 50, the person gets a C, comma, if again the same I4 is lower than 50, comma, put that, then put D. Now because I have been opening brackets and I haven't been closing, I now need to close all of them. I have opened the A, B, 4, C and D. So I'll close all of them, first, second, third and fourth. After that I press enter. If I drag, grades will be allocated that way. Another method, that's one way of doing it. You also can position your cursor. You also can position your cursor. Go to this, more functions, pick if, say OK, do the testing. If this is greater than 70, the student gets an A. If true, here you don't need to put the speech marks. The false scenario will be more than 1, so you again have to start with if. You copy this as you are seeing it, just as you are seeing it. You copy it, only that you now change 70 to 60 and A you change it to B. So if you start just by typing if, it will be, the formula bar will be capturing what I'm typing up here. Open bracket, the same I4 is greater than 60, comma, the person is allocated a B, comma, if you again repeat yourself, I4 is greater than 50, comma, you allocate the C, again say comma, you again start again if, open bracket, I4 is less than 50, comma, you put a D. After, now because down here I have only opened 3 times, this first one already had a bracket of closing, that's why we are having one here. I didn't open the bracket here, so because the system opened, it also will close. So again, I only need to close the ones I have opened. This is another method. Then I now say OK and drag. Yeah, so it will depend with also what you are doing. You can use the long method of typing here as I started with, or go to insert and use that screen to type. Let me also do average for this place. Start with equals, average, open bracket, from B4 you can type or highlight to B9, then press enter. Then I drag. This is for subject. Count if a student has performed lower or above 50, equals count if, open bracket, from B4 to B9, then I press enter. From B4, or this is if, sorry, this is if, count if B9, then a comma and the criteria. Put that criteria is above 50. That way. So 2 have scored above 50. That is this and this. Let me do the lower one. Equals, another method is to come here, pick count if, range you select. As you select, it will capture here B4 to B9, then the criteria, you now put the criteria. You don't need to put the closing and the opening speech marks. And click OK. So when you drag to confirm, here it's only one person who scored lower than 50, who happens to be this one, Bob. Here there is none that is below 50. Maximum, the person who scored the highest. You also can use this method of going here. Max is here. Then you adjust in case the cells are not the ones you wanted. You can say from B4 to B9. Then you press enter. So you can simply write or use this function here. You also can say equals mean, open bracket, then you do the highlighting or you type and you close the bracket and press enter. Then you drag that way. All these are styles of I may even be doing it here, maybe doing it also here. I would say equals max, open bracket and highlight, then I close the bracket and press enter. These are max for students, and this is a case of subject. It's this way. The other one is horizontal. Minimum the same, equals mean, open bracket, select and close, press enter. You can track this. So anything you are doing, this is a report. Okay, so for grade I have shown you so many ways of how you can work with the grade. You even can use count. All these are functions. You will say equals count, then simply highlight to just indicate the number of students in the class, and then you track. Yeah. And so if it's normal data you are creating, maybe you're creating a you can rename this to employees. Could be creating a report of employees. So I'll highlight the section. Let me create something simple. Company name. This could be employees. I can merge. I'm creating the heading. And I can now create my data. Number, names, ID number, mobile number, you can stretch this, age, date of employment, salary, maybe location, address, bank account. So this could be a report I'm creating of employees. So here you can just put 1, 2, select these 2 and drag. Names, can adjust this, ID number, mobile number, because of the 0 I'll come here and change this to text so that it can accommodate the 0 at the beginning. Age, date of employment, in case I need some other style of dates, I can come here and put the date style I want. In case it doesn't fit, it's going to indicate that. So this means there needs to be an addition of some space. Salary, if you also need this to be money, I'll select, come here and change to money. This address, bank account, that way. Put the second person, ID number, mobile number, again I can just select this part and put it to text so that as I type I won't be experiencing the same. I also can select this whole part and put the style I want so that as I type they are displayed as I want them to be displayed. I also can select this whole part and put currency. And select, can put bold and the like. Can put borders. Can put the heading to what I want. It's just an example of how you can create data in Excel. And you continue filling data. And each time you remember to save, to update your changes as you continue. Yeah, so practice, create time and practice to be in a position to do what I'm doing. Yeah, I'll be uploading the next video. very soon. Thank you.